My fiancée Sophia never dreamed that the man who loved her more than life itself would turn into a cold stranger just because her adopted younger brother pushed him into a river. And when I woke up, I no longer recognized her at all. She thought I was just playing hard to get again, not knowing I had lost my memory from drowning. And even when my best friend told me how deeply I had once loved Sophia, I felt absolutely nothing for her. Then one day Sophia discovered that I had quietly left her behind, traveled thousands of miles to attend university in another city, and was now holding hands with a rich campus beauty. And only then did she realize in horror that I truly did not love her anymore. It was the 1980s in a county clinic when I suddenly coughed up a mouthful of water and slowly opened my eyes to see my best friend David rushing to my side, overjoyed and saying I had finally woken up after 2 whole days, then immediately scolding me for being foolish enough to give up a hard-earned college admission for a woman and nearly drown because of it, which left me completely confused as I asked what woman he was even talking about. David froze, his voice trembling slightly as he said Sophia Kim, the ice-cold beauty I had been obsessed with for 5 years, Commander Kim, and after seeing the genuine confusion on my face his expression changed, and after checking again and again he finally believed that I had survived the drowning but lost my memory, forgetting only Sophia and the Kim siblings. When I pressed him and asked if I really gave up college for her and what our relationship was now, David sighed and explained that Commander Kim once saved me from drowning, that I fell in love at first sight and chased her for 5 straight years, while she only had eyes for her adopted younger brother Makoto and treated me like I did not exist. When I asked why she did not just marry Makoto, David sneered and said people would talk since they were not blood-related but grew up like real siblings, and that just days ago Commander Kim found out I got into university and for the first time ever came to me herself, saying she would marry me if I gave my college spot to Makoto. I interrupted in disbelief, asking if I really agreed to such an outrageous demand, and David rolled his eyes and said not only did I agree, I was so excited I even said I would die if it meant she would marry me. I was left speechless as he told me yesterday was the day we were supposed to submit our marriage application, that Makoto suddenly stormed into the military base, beat me up and dragged me into the river, that my dear fiancé pulled Makoto out first and walked away without a second glance, and that other soldiers jumped in to save me while she never visited me even once during the 2 days I was unconscious. Hearing all this, I rubbed my still aching head, confused and frustrated, and asked David if he was messing with me, questioning why I would ever throw away my future for someone who treated me that badly. David then opened the military green canvas bag beside me and pulled out a stack of letters and a notebook, telling me these were the love letters I had written to Sophia over the years that she returned unopened in my journal. And when I took them in surprise, it was undeniably my handwriting, every letter filled with passionate love for Sophia, so intense it made my scalp tingle just reading it. When I opened the diary, page after page was filled with thoughts about Sophia. The 99th love letter returned again. Notes about how she looked at me like I was nothing, her gaze cold as ice water, how she said any soldier would have saved me the same way and told me to stop being a clingy simp, how I made her favorite braised ribs and waited outside the barracks for 3 hours only for Makoto to take the food and feed it to the dogs, how I heard Sophia admired well-educated men and wondered if getting into college would finally make her look at me differently. And on the day Sophia agreed to marry me, the diary page was covered in exclamation marks. Practically the joy spilled off the paper as I ran my fingers across the pages, my heart swelling with an unfamiliar ache, and even though I had lost those memories, the humility and sorrow between the lines still tugged painfully at my chest. Seeing my silence, David hesitated for a moment and then asked if I was still going to marry her, and I shook my head firmly, saying of course not and asking why I should give up my future for someone who did not love me, that I was going to college. David asked if I was sure I would not regret it, reminding me that I had loved Commander Kim for years and that the whole military base knew I swore to marry no one else, but I said absolutely not, no woman was more important than my future. Suddenly the door to the infirmary was pushed open and a tall, elegant figure in a military uniform stepped inside. Commander Kim, and David stood up at once. I looked her over, her delicate sculpted features and cold noble aura like an orchid growing in a secluded valley. Definitely the type I used to like. But the eyes staring at me were full of frost as she spoke in a firm, commanding voice, telling me Makoto was in the room next door and that now that I was awake I should go apologize to him. I stared in disbelief and asked why I should apologize when he was the one who pushed me into the river, and although it was rare for me to question her, Sophia Kim's brows furrowed slightly as she said that if I had not insisted on marrying her, Makoto would not have been so upset and done something so reckless, that he was young and frail, trembling for hours after being pulled from the water, and that it took her 2 days to calm him down. So I caused all of this and of course should apologize. I almost laughed, thinking that I had been unconscious for 2 days, but poor Makoto being frightened was obviously far more important, and Sophia looked at me in surprise, wondering when George, the one who used to accept everything in silence, had become someone who dared to talk back to her. A flicker of anger rose in her eyes as she spoke in a cold, restrained voice, telling me not to forget my place, that I was her fiancé and therefore Makoto's brother-in-law and should act like a proper military husband. I lifted my head and looked her straight in the eye and said I had changed my mind and that our engagement was before I could finish saying cancelled when a loud shout came from the doorway. "George, what are you doing here? Are you trying to seduce my sister again?" And Sophia quickly turned around to see Makoto standing there in a hospital gown, pale-faced. She hurriedly told him not to get the wrong idea and that I was only there because I had been hospitalized. But Makoto shouted that he did not care, that he did not want to be in the same hospital with this walking curse, and told her to make me leave right now. Sophia sighed and stepped forward, gently stroking his hair with eyes full of helpless affection, telling him to be good and not make a scene and to go back and rest. But he shook his head stubbornly and said he would not stay under the same roof as me and would discharge himself if I did not leave. Sophia raised her long, graceful fingers and rubbed her temples with a tired expression, then turned to me and said Makoto needed peace and quiet to recover, and since I was clearly fine I should go ahead and get discharged. I clenched my fists, knowing I had only just regained consciousness an hour ago and my body was still weak. Yet Sophia Kim was forcing me out of the hospital just because her precious little brother was throwing a tantrum, and when I shook my head and said I was not leaving, my repeated defiance finally pushed her over the edge. She waved her hand, her voice ice cold, saying this was not up to me, and 2 military guards rushed into the ward and forcibly dragged me off the hospital bed, one of them muttering sorry brother-in-law, while I struggled with all my strength and David rushed forward in panic to stop them only to be shoved violently to the ground. I shouted David's name, turned my head and stared hard at Sophia, then told the guards beside me that I was not their brother-in-law, that Commander Kim and I had not registered our marriage and had no relationship whatsoever. Sophia frowned as she watched the scene unfold, thinking that George really seemed different today, that the old George was like a timid quail in front of her and never dared say a single word of disagreement, and wondering why now that she had finally agreed to marry him, he seemed like a completely different person. Though she dismissed it as childish playing hard to get and said she was not falling for it, telling me to reflect on my behavior and warning that if I was still like this when she returned home I would be locked up in solitary confinement for a week. The guards dragged me out of the ward and threw me roughly into a military jeep which sped away from the hospital, and in Chapter 3 I was thrown heavily onto the concrete floor by the guard, the sound of a heavy lock clicking shut behind me. The door slammed shut and the guard said Commander Kim ordered that I was not allowed to take a single step out of here until she returned, and I rubbed my shoulder and looked around the room, realizing it was clearly the bridal chamber Sophia and I were supposed to share, decorated festively with red peonies and enamel mugs printed with the Chinese character for double happiness on the table. I walked to the wall and forcefully ripped down the large red character for happiness, thinking that I would rather die than go through with this marriage. The next afternoon Sophia finally came back, and when she saw the utterly wrecked wedding room she was about to explode. But then she seemed to suddenly understand something, nodded, and said that at least I knew better than to provoke Makoto at a time like this, that our wedding would be postponed, and that we would talk again after Makoto left for university. I was speechless at how she kept making decisions on her own, and when I told her again that I did not want to marry her and that the engagement was off, she warned that her patience had limits and that she would not allow me to keep acting out like this, asking what it mattered if she did not save me from drowning and how, as the future husband of a commander, I could be so petty about something so trivial. Maybe after all these years of relentless pursuit she no longer believed a word I said, as she explained that before Makoto's father died in the line of duty, he was her father's comrade in arms, that taking care of a martyr's orphan was her duty and responsibility, and that as Makoto's brother-in-law I should give him patience, protect him and love him, warning me of the consequences if I could not, her tone carrying undisguised menace as she stepped closer and her shadow swallowed me up. She said she was going to pick Makoto up from the hospital and ordered me to stay home and cook, saying Makoto wanted chicken noodle soup, then turned and left without looking back before I could refuse. I went into the kitchen, boiled water, and started making noodles just like I had for the past 5 years, quietly and diligently without complaint. But this time I only made one serving. When Sophia and Makoto returned, what they saw was me sitting there with a bowl of steaming noodle soup, eating with obvious satisfaction. The aroma of chicken filling the air as Makoto sniffed it in, swallowed hard, and glared at me in fury, shouting that I was a bastard and demanding to know what I was doing in his house and telling me to get the hell out. Sophia stopped him from lunging forward and gently tried to soothe him, telling him not to worry and that the engagement between the two of us had been called off, and Makoto turned around in surprise and delight, asking if it was true, while Sophia nodded firmly and said that since he did not like it they would not get married, that he was still recovering, and that George was here to take care of him as an apology. This cold-faced commander known in the military for her decisiveness and iron will only ever showed this rare tenderness in front of her younger brother. And I gave a cold laugh, said nothing, and kept eating my noodles in silence. Seeing my emotionless face, Sophia's expression darkened as she accused me of still daring to have an attitude and ordered me to serve noodles for Makoto and her, and only then did I slowly look up and say that I did not make any for them. She glared at me furiously, clearly thinking I had a death wish for daring to joke around like this, marched into the kitchen, and when she came back out her face was dark enough to drip ink because the pot was completely empty and I really had not made any for the two of them. I stood up with my bowl in hand and said I could not eat with them staring at me and that I was going back to the bedroom, but Makoto roared and charged at me, shouting about who I thought I was and how dare I disobey his sister, threatening to beat the crap out of me as he gave me a hard shove. I stumbled and some of the still steaming soup spilled out of the bowl and splashed onto his hand, and he froze for half a second before letting out an ear-splitting scream, yelling to his sister that I scalded him with hot water and that it hurt badly. Sophia strode over quickly, cupping Makoto's slightly reddened hand in hers with her brows deeply furrowed, glaring at me and saying I could not even hold a bowl properly and ordering me to apologize to Makoto right now, and when I met her cold, sharp gaze and said I did not do anything wrong and asked why I should apologize, the fury in her eyes nearly exploded as she shouted that Makoto's hand was red from the burn and that I was still trying to deny it. Someone as manipulative and dishonest as you has no right to be my husband. Apologize now. I stared at them both and suddenly let out a laugh. Fine, I'll apologize, but not for what just happened. I raised the bowl, still half full of chicken soup and noodles, and dumped it all over Makoto. Eha! Makoto's scream echoed throughout the entire residential compound. If the first time Makoto got scalded was 30% pain and 70% acting, this time the pain was real enough to bring tears to his eyes. You've gone insane. Sophia's eyes blazed with fury as she shot me a glare that could kill. When the hot soup was splashed, Sophia had been standing right next to Makoto, so now she too was covered in noodles, looking completely disheveled. Didn't you want me to apologize, Makoto? This time I burned you on purpose. I'm sorry, I said with biting sarcasm, staring at the two soaked figures. George, it seems I need to teach you a lesson. I'll make you understand what it means to be part of a commander's household. Sophia's voice carried an unmistakable chill. Her fierce gaze faded into something colder, detached, emotionless. It made me shiver. That looked like a lion eyeing prey, about to tear apart. Sophia turned and stepped out of the room, calling over 2 guards. Wu, hold him down. Leo, go boil a kettle of water. Guard Wu twisted my arms behind my back and slammed me to the floor with a thud. My voice trembled. Sophia, what are you doing? Sophia didn't respond. She didn't even glance in my direction. Her eyes were fixed only on Makoto's tear-streaked face and trembling shoulders, full of distress and pity. The guard soon returned carrying a steaming kettle. Pour the whole kettle over his arm, Sophia ordered, expressionless. Ma'am. The guard hesitated. Commander, this water just came to a boil, it could cause serious burns. Makoto may have looked pitiful, but the soup earlier had been sitting for a while. It wasn't actually very hot. But this, a full kettle of scalding water, I couldn't even imagine the consequences. I struggled desperately to break free, but the arms holding me down were like iron clamps. Sophia's voice rang out cold and commanding. Did you not understand my order? Or are you thinking of disobeying a military command? The guard said nothing more. Silently, he opened the lid of the thermos. Sophia, you can't do this, I said, my voice shaking uncontrollably. Scared now? Weren't you full of bravado just a moment ago? Her pitch-black eyes showed not a shred of warmth. This is just a little punishment for your disobedience. Remember this, if you want to be my man, you have to learn obedience and patience. The harsh hiss of steam was the only warning I got. Before I could react, the boiling liquid struck like a serpent, breathing fire, coiling itself around my arm. I bit through my lip to stop the scream from escaping. The burning pain flooded over me like a tide, like hundreds of red-hot needles driving into my flesh, piercing to the bone. By the time the kettle was empty, I was so racked with pain I couldn't even make a sound, just collapsed on the ground, barely breathing. Oh, stop acting. It's just hot water. You've got thick skin. How bad could it be? I hope you learn your lesson today. I won't tolerate this kind of insubordination again. Sophia's cold voice sounded distant, almost echoing. I'm taking Makoto to the hospital. You stay home and reflect on yourself. The pain and helplessness swallowed me whole, and I passed out. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed. David was sitting beside me, his eyes red as he looked down at me. George, it's been only 2 days since you got discharged. How the hell did you end up like this? When the guards brought you in, your entire arm was covered in blisters. You were barely conscious, didn't even respond when I called you. I was scared to death. I forced a weak smile and tried to lift my hand to comfort David, but the motion pulled at the wound and I winced in pain. Looking down, I saw both my arms were tightly wrapped in layers of gauze. David, I said softly, maybe falling into that river wasn't such a bad thing after all. Right now, I'm just grateful I forgot about her. There was a time in my journal when I wrote, Sophia saved me, we must be fated. But fate shouldn't be something you force. She once saved my life, so I've treated these years of torment as repaying that debt. From now on, we're done. Completely. David nodded with relief. I'm glad you've come around. Just focus on your own life. Commander Kim doesn't matter anymore. You get some rest. I'll go get you something to eat. As soon as David left the room, Sophia walked in. George, you're awake. How are you feeling? Her voice was unusually gentle, but to me it sounded nothing but mockingly fake. You ordered someone to burn me and now you come in here pretending to care. What are you hoping I'll go apologize to your precious little brother again, George? Sophia's face darkened. Why are you speaking so harshly all of a sudden? I know you blame me for punishing you, but it was for your own good. With your current temper, how can you possibly be a good husband to a commander? Her tone softened again. How's your arm? Let me take a look. And next time, stop being so reckless. She reached out to brush aside the hair on my forehead, but I turned my head away. Her hand hovered awkwardly in the air. She was about to snap, but something stopped her. She swallowed her anger. If you're feeling better, then go to number 1 high school today and tell Teacher Song that you're giving up your college placement. So that was it. It was still about Makoto. I turned and stared at Sophia in silence. She looked slightly uneasy but still spoke in a firm, commanding tone. George, I'll keep my promise. Once Makoto goes off to college, I'll marry you. I stared at her quietly. I wanted to tell her that I wouldn't marry her, that I would go to university, get a job, explore the world. But in the end, I said nothing. I simply nodded. Sophia looked pleased. She became more convinced that all my previous resistance was just childish sulking, a desperate attempt to get her attention. After all, everyone in the base knew I loved her to death, that I'd do anything, die even, just to marry her. Good. Looks like you finally learned your lesson. As long as you stay this obedient, the role of a commander's husband will be yours. Sophia helped process my hospital discharge and brought me to number 1 high school. 2 hours later, I walked out the school gates and got into her military jeep. Seeing how quiet and reserved I looked, Sophia grew even more satisfied. Men really do need to be disciplined, she thought smugly. A little punishment and he's completely under control. You were very well behaved today. As a reward, I'll take you to see the newest movie, Memories of the Southern City. I gave a careless nod, but my hand unconsciously reached inside my canvas bag, gently rubbing the folded university application brochure inside. I did go to see Teacher Song, but not to give up my college spot. Today was the last day to submit university preferences. I changed my choice from the local military academy to a science and technology university thousands of miles away. I was going to leave this place, run as far as I could. The Jeep slowly came to a stop in front of the movie theater. Sophia went to buy tickets while I wandered around idly, looking at the posters. Suddenly, a sharp voice pierced the air behind me. "What the hell are you doing here? Are you following me?" I turned around and came face to face with a furious Makoto. He stormed over and grabbed my arm, dragging me toward the theater entrance. "I told you I didn't want to see you. Get lost." My burn still hadn't healed. His grip sent a sharp, searing pain through my arm. I cried out and instinctively shoved him away. Makoto lost his balance and fell hard to the ground, staring at me in disbelief. "You're insane. You actually pushed me. Aren't you afraid my sister will teach you a lesson?" "Makoto, what's going on? Is someone bullying you?" A familiar voice rang out. Not far away, Sophia rushed toward us, panic written all over her face. Sophia rushed over, trying to help Makoto up from the ground. Makoto, seizing the opportunity like a drowning man grabbing at a life raft, simply plopped back onto the pavement and started acting out. "Sis, George pushed me. I don't care, you have to punish him for me. That's enough, or..." Sophia had just begun to scold me when I cut her off. "What are you about to say?" "Let me guess, another demand that I apologize without even asking what happened first. And if I don't, you'll pour boiling water on me again." I shook the arm still wrapped in gauze, my expression full of mockery. The spot where Makoto had just grabbed me, some blisters had already burst. The fluid was seeping through the bandages and it looked horrifying. Sophia's heart trembled for a moment. After a brief pause, she crouched beside Makoto and spoke softly. "Makoto, be good. Let's not make a big deal out of this. I've already had him give up his military college spot for you. Let's consider that his way of making amends. You're about to fulfill your dream of going to college. I've kept my promise to your father. I've raised you into someone with a future." Makoto's eyes lit up instantly. Ever since the national college entrance exams were reinstated, many of his childhood friends had gotten into universities. He had wanted to go too, but he was lazy by nature and not too bright. No matter how much he tried, nothing stuck. Once he found out I'd been accepted, he threw fits day and night, demanding his sister take the placement and give it to him. And like always, no matter what he asked for, his sister delivered. This time was no exception. Makoto suddenly leapt up from the ground and threw his arms around Sophia's neck. "I knew it. No one treats me better than you. I'm the luckiest guy in the world." Caught off guard, Sophia was momentarily flustered by the hug. She gently patted his head, then cautiously wrapped her arms around his shoulders, as if afraid she might damage a priceless piece of jewelry. I watched it all, but strangely enough, I felt no sadness, only confusion. Why hadn't I seen the intimacy between them before I lost my memory? Or had I known all along but just kept lying to myself? Maybe sensing my gaze, Makoto let go of Sophia and looked down at me smugly. "Humph, you're just a country bumpkin, you never deserved to go to college anyway. Giving that spot to you would have been a total waste. And don't even think about using this to pressure my sister into marrying you. Try it and you'll regret it." With that, he wrapped his arm around Sophia's and added, "Sis, let's go see the movie. Ignore this bad luck parasite." Sophia hesitated. "Makoto, I promised to take George to see the movie today. No need. You two go ahead." I turned and walked away. Honestly, I didn't want to be alone with Sophia anyway. But then Makoto suddenly raised his voice theatrically behind me. "Sis, I suddenly feel so cold." Sophia immediately began to remove her military jacket, but Makoto stopped her. He dramatically pointed at me. "I want his coat." I looked down. I was wearing a sharply tailored wool overcoat, bought for the wedding. Sophia hadn't given me a cent for the preparations, but I never complained. I had used all my savings and ration coupons from the past few years to buy that coat. I wanted to marry her with dignity. "Makoto, stop making a scene. That's George's coat." Sophia pressed her fingers to her temple, trying to soothe her headache. Her words sounded scolding, but her tone was as gentle as ever. Sis, I want that one. It looks too nice to be wasted on him. Makoto whined, shaking her arm like a spoiled child. I must have caught a chill from falling into the river the other day. That's why I feel so cold. And he should make it up to me. With that pitiful look on his face, Sophia finally made up her mind. George, take off your coat and give it to Makoto. Right now. I tightened my coat around me and gently shook my head. Sophia's brows furrowed. Why are you being so petty over a coat? With Makoto, I'm ordering you. Take it off now. People should live simply and frugally. This coat is too expensive. Letting Makoto have it is for your own good. I chuckled. Commander Kim, I'm not your subordinate. What gives you the right to order me around? Sophia's expression instantly darkened, her voice rising in anger. Because you're she cut herself off mid-sentence. Makoto was standing right beside her. The word fiancé was forcefully swallowed down. Seeing the fire in her eyes, I shifted my tone deliberately. If Commander Kim wants this coat, no problem. I'll sell it to you. 300 yuan. You filthy bastard. Asking for money? You should be grateful we even want your coat. Makoto exploded. I ignored Makoto's insults, turning my half-smiling gaze toward Sophia. Commander Kim loves her brother so much. What's 300 yuan for something he really likes? Sophia's expression turned stormy. Her voice was low and tense. George, I never thought you were such a money-grubbing person. Then you never really knew me. I've always been this way. The coat had cost only 150 yuan, but I wanted to discuss Sophia on purpose. Besides, I was heading off to college soon. I'd need money for everything, so why not seize this opportunity to get something out of it? Sophia's face darkened so much it could drip ink. She pulled a wad of bills from her uniform pocket and slammed it against my chest. Leave the coat. Take your filthy money and get lost. I took off the coat and handed it to her, then turned and walked away, Makoto's cursing echoing behind me. A cold breeze brushed past, and I instinctively hunched my shoulders in the thin shirt I had left on. I touched the money tucked close to my chest, trying to smile, but my eyes stung, unbidden tears welling up in the corners. I went to the station and bought a sleeper ticket for 3 days later. Over the next 2 days, I began preparing to leave. Sophia seemed to be sulking too. She never showed up again, which was perfectly fine with me. That day, I bought some daily necessities at the supply co-op and decided to take a shortcut home. As I passed through a narrow alleyway, several shadows suddenly emerged and blocked my path. 3 burly men stood there, eyes scanning me up and down with clearly bad intentions. Well, such a pretty boy. Almost makes a guy feel bad for what's about to happen. Every hair on my body stood on end. I stared at them warily. What do you want? You've only got yourself to blame, messing with the wrong person. Someone paid us 50 yuan to teach you a lesson. With that, the men lunged at me, holding me down. I struggled with everything I had, shouting for help. But how could I fight off 3 grown men on my own? They held me down hard. One of them pulled a knife from his jacket and moved to slash my face. Just as despair was about to swallow me whole, a loud voice shouted, "Stop! You've got some nerve trying this in broad daylight." I looked up in surprise, and there was Sam, Sophia's guard. "Sam, help me," I cried out like grabbing a lifeline. The thugs froze when they saw the military uniform. Spooked, they immediately let go and tried to run, but Sam pinned one of them down with ease. "Let them go," a voice suddenly called out from nearby. From the shadows, a figure slowly emerged. It was Makoto. He walked forward with a relaxed, almost lazy stride, but his voice was cold and heavy. "Guard Wu, I suggest you stay out of things that don't concern you." In that instant, everything clicked into place. "Makoto, you're the one who hired these thugs." "Humph. So what if I did?" Makoto turned his head sharply and glared at me. "Don't think I don't know what you're up to. As soon as I leave for university, you're planning to sweet-talk my sister into marrying you. Well, let me tell you, not gonna happen. My sister is mine and mine alone." I took a deep breath. "Makoto, let me be honest with you. I don't love your sister anymore. I don't want to marry her. Ever since I nearly drowned, I lost. Bullshit, Makoto shrieked. You greedy bastard. You expect me to believe you'd give up the chance to be the commander's husband? Not in a million years. I'm going to destroy you. Completely. As long as you're ruined, my sister will never marry you. Guardwu looked uneasy. Makoto, isn't this going a little too far? This is illegal. Makoto turned his icy gaze toward him. Sam, if I remember correctly, your parents are still back in the countryside and you've got a disabled sister. Your entire family relies on the stipend you send home every month. Commander Kim loves me more than anyone. Do you really want to know what happens if you cross me? If you get kicked out of the military, your whole family won't even survive. Guardwu clenched his lips tightly, saying nothing. He had already witnessed Sophia's ruthlessness and blind favoritism. Back then, when Makoto had fed George's lunch to the stray dogs, Wu merely spoke up in George's defense, and it enraged Sophia so much she docked half a month's pay from him. To keep his family from going hungry, he had to cut back on himself, eating just one coarse grain flatbread a day and drinking cold water to stave off the hunger. Slowly, he let go of the thug. I looked at him in despair. His lips moved slightly, silently mouthing a few words. I understood him. He said, I'm sorry. Makoto jerked his chin at the thugs. Nobody's going to get in your way now. I'll raise the price to 100 yuan. Make sure you give him a proper beating. Before the men could react, I turned and bolted toward the alley's exit. Behind me, I heard Makoto burst into a fit of arrogant laughter. I zigzagged through the alleys and managed to lose 2 of them, but the leader, the strongest one, was still chasing me relentlessly. After barely 2 blocks, he caught up to me again. The man grabbed my arm with a wicked grin. My shirt sleeve was torn, the front buttons ripped away. No matter how loudly I screamed for help, this time no one came. In that moment of pure desperation, I remembered the fruit knife I had just bought, still tucked in my bag. I yanked it out and swung it toward him. He flinched back just in time, cursing loudly. His eyes stayed locked on me with resentment, but he didn't dare charge forward again, not while I held a blade gleaming with cold steel. Taking advantage of his hesitation, I turned and ran, fleeing the alley with every ounce of strength I had left. This time he didn't follow. I sprinted all the way back home, slammed the door shut, and locked it tight behind me. Only then did I realize I was trembling all over. Like my bones had suddenly dissolved, I slid to the floor, collapsing in a heap. I don't know how long I sat there before pounding struck the door. George, what the hell are you doing in there? Why did you lock the door? I forced myself to stand and open the door. Standing there was Sophia, fuming with rage. George, look at you. Your clothes are torn, your hair's a mess. Do you even care how shameful this is? Do you have any idea what the entire camp is saying? That you've been fooling around with some street girl, doing disgusting things in broad daylight right in some alley. I didn't even have to guess where that rumor came from. It's not true, I said weakly. Makoto hired some thugs to rough me up. George, not only do you refuse to admit your wrongdoing, now you're slandering Makoto too. Sophia's voice roared like a storm. Yes, he's a little willful, but he's just a naive kid. He would never do something so vile. I laughed bitterly to myself. I was such a fool. Why did I even try to explain? When had she ever believed me? Commander Kim, if you don't like me, then why do you even care? If you think I'm an embarrassment, then let's call off the engagement. Sophia froze. My calm tone struck her like a heavy blow straight to the chest. A fire of nameless fury flared inside her, but she had nowhere to release it. George, Sophia grabbed my shoulders and slammed me hard against the wall. So eager to break off our engagement, just so you can run off to that whore. Whether I like you or not, you're my man, she spat, enunciating every word. I won't allow you to look at another woman, let alone speak a single word to one. This is my fault. I've been too lenient with you, and now you've grown arrogant and disobedient. This time, I'll make sure you're properly disciplined. She yanked me roughly by the arm and threw me into a windowless storage room nearby, slamming and locking the door behind me. You'll stay in here and reflect on yourself. Think about how to be a proper husband to a commander. No food for 3 days, and you're not stepping out of this room even once. If you haven't come to your senses in 3 days, then you'll stay locked up even longer. I've got all the time and patience in the world. Her footsteps gradually faded into the distance until they disappeared completely. The storage room was pitch black, damp, and musty. If I listened carefully, I could hear rats rustling nearby. I curled up in a corner, crouching into myself. I'd long known Sophia could be biased, but I never imagined she would go so far as to publicly ruin my name without even asking the truth. Strangely, I didn't feel sad, just a dull, aching pain in my chest. My train was scheduled to leave tomorrow. I had to find a way out of here. Maybe it was the exhaustion from the past few days or the fear. Before I realized it, I had fallen into a restless sleep. I don't know how long I slept. The churning pain in my stomach finally jolted me awake. The room was still completely dark. I couldn't tell whether it was day or night, but I knew one thing for certain. I hadn't eaten for at least a day. The hunger pains kept coming in waves, growing sharper each time. Weakly, I dragged myself to the door and lifted a trembling hand to knock. Is anyone there? Please, is someone outside? Silence. Absolute, crushing silence. Just when I was about to give up, a familiar voice called out. George, are you in there? Are you all right? It was David. George, I stole the key from Sophia. I'm letting you out right now. The door creaked open. A beam of sunlight poured into the suffocating blackness. I squinted against the light. David stepped in and gently helped me to my feet. Go, George. Hurry. I can handle things here. I gripped David's hand tightly. A lump rose in my throat, but all I managed to say was thank you. I lifted my gaze one last time and looked at the so-called bridal home Sophia and I were supposed to share. Sophia, from this moment on we're finished. You and I are nothing. 1 hour later, I arrived at the station and boarded the northbound train. Crack. The sharp sound of a pen tip snapping broke the silence. Sophia, who had been reviewing documents, froze for a brief moment. It was the fountain pen George had given her for her birthday, an imported luxury brand he'd asked someone to bring from abroad. He had saved up for more than half a year to buy it. She had grumbled at the time but still accepted it. 3 years had passed in a flash. She'd long since gotten used to writing with it. And now, without warning, it broke. Did something happen to George? Sophia hesitated for a moment but eventually stood up, deciding to go check on him. Just then a crisp voice came from the door. Sis. Makoto walked into the office. Sophia's expression instantly softened. Makoto, what brings you here? Sis, how could you forget? Makoto pouted. Tomorrow's my college registration day. You promised to take me to the state-run restaurant for a big feast today. Sophia smiled gently. Of course, I didn't forget. I made a reservation days ago. But her thoughts involuntarily drifted back to George. He hadn't eaten for a whole day. Was he starving? She shook off the thought almost immediately. No, if she had decided to punish him, she couldn't back down just because she was feeling soft. So what if he went hungry for a few days? It wasn't the end of the world. Fine. Once Makoto leaves for school, I'll make it up to him. With that thought, Sophia no longer hesitated. She let Makoto cheerfully cling to her arm, and the two of them walked off toward the restaurant. The next day, Sophia helped Makoto pack his bags and drove him to school. The local military college wasn't far, just over 2 hours away. They arrived at the admissions office. Hello, my name is Makoto. I'm a new student this year, Makoto said brightly, his face lit with excitement. He was finally about to become a college student. Let's see what that country bumpkin George could possibly do to compete with him now. The admissions staff member flipped through the roster carefully, then frowned and shook his head. I don't see anyone named Makoto on this list. That's impossible. Makoto's eyes widened in disbelief. He grabbed the list out of the teacher's hands, ignoring their protests, and started flipping through it himself. Page after page, nothing. Makoto's hands began to tremble slightly. Even as the students behind him started to complain loudly, he kept searching. Did you maybe bring the wrong admission notice? The staff member asked kindly. No way, I definitely passed the entrance exam. Makoto murmured to himself. There must be a mistake. Just process my enrollment. I'm supposed to be a student here, he suddenly shouted, glaring at the teacher. His scalp tingled with panic. He'd already bragged to everyone in the housing compound that he'd gotten into the military university. If he had to go home now empty-handed and humiliated, how could he show his face again? The teacher gave him a long, meaningful look. He seemed to understand what had happened. Young man, he said gently, it's okay if you didn't pass this time. There's always next year. You're still young, there'll be more chances. Ever since the college entrance exams were reinstated, they encountered students like this every year at registration. Some who lied to their families about getting in, others so overwhelmed by pressure they convinced themselves the acceptance was real. Seeing the staff treat him like a lunatic, Makoto completely lost it. He slammed his hand on the desk. Who the hell do you think you are looking down on me? If you don't process my registration right now, I swear I'll trash this place. Makoto had always been spoiled. Back in the military compound, everyone gave way to him, afraid of Commander Kim's authority. But here, no one was going to indulge him. The teacher's friendly expression vanished. With a wave of his hand, several campus security guards stepped forward. A student in line shouted, "Didn't get accepted and now throwing a tantrum at the registration office? I've never seen anyone so shameless in my life." Someone quickly chimed in, "Any university that admits a guy like him must have run out of luck for 8 generations." Makoto spun around and lunged at the first person who spoke. "You little bastard. I'll rip your damn mouth off." The security guards didn't hesitate anymore. They grabbed him and tried to drag him away from the crowd. "Let him go," Sophia's sharp voice rang out. "You people have no right to lay a hand on him." The moment the guards saw Sophia in her military uniform, they instinctively backed off. Sophia quickly pulled Makoto to her side. "Makoto, stop this. Let's go home for now." Makoto was trembling all over in panic. "What do we do, sis? Why did they say my name isn't on the list?" Then suddenly, as if a thought struck him, he looked up sharply. "It must have been George. He never gave me the spot, he tricked us." Sophia's face darkened instantly. At this point, that was the only possibility left. Well done, George. He dared to lie to her. Clearly, locking him up had been far too lenient. Sophia's fury burned hotter by the second. She was itching to rush home and teach that disobedient man a lesson he wouldn't forget. She wanted to see just how long his defiance would last. And once their engagement was officially called off, she wanted to see him down on his knees begging her for forgiveness. The two of them raced back home at full speed. Sophia lifted her military boot and kicked hard at the storage room door. Crash. The wooden panel snapped off its hinges, sending a cloud of dust into the air. Makoto charged into the room like a madman, screaming, "George, you damn bastard. Get out here right now. See how I deal with you." But before the words fully left his mouth, both of them froze. The room was empty. Sophia stiffened. Her heartbeat skipped a beat. She tried to suppress the sudden wave of panic, only for fury to surge up in its place. George actually dared to disobey her orders and escape during solitary confinement. Without her permission, who the hell had the guts to release him? Makoto lost it. "Sis, George did all this to me and now he just ran off. You have to get revenge for me. Find him. Turn this place upside down if you have to." Sophia gritted her teeth and ordered her subordinates. It didn't take long for the guards to find out who had stolen the key. It was David. When he was brought in, Sophia's face was so dark it looked like storm clouds were about to burst. As a civilian officer in the military, she said coldly, "You know very well what kind of consequences this will bring. You've aided and abetted him time and time again. George is as defiant as he is now. Half of that is your fault." But David wasn't afraid. He simply looked at her with a faint, mocking smile. Sophia Kim was trembling with rage. George had disobeyed her, and now even a low-level admin dared to look down on her. "David, as your superior officer, I'm issuing a serious disciplinary." "No need for that, Commander Kim," David interrupted calmly. "I've already submitted my resignation." "What?" Sophia stared at him, stunned. "Where would you even go once you leave the army?" "Commander Kim, this is a new era. There are opportunities everywhere. And for the record, I've long had enough of being under your command. You're domineering, unreasonable, and unfair. You even use torture to punish people. If I were George, I would have left you 5 years ago." David's words struck straight at the one thing Sophia hated most to hear. Furious, she hurled a heavy enamel mug to the floor and kicked her desk over with a loud crash. "David, I'm giving you one last chance. Tell me where George went. Otherwise, I promise you, not a single company in City A will dare hire you." David rolled his eyes. "Who said I was staying in City A? I'm going to City C. My cousin runs a clothing business there and I'm joining her. There's so much opportunity out there. As long as you're willing to work, money's not hard to make. Goodbye, Commander Kim. Let's hope we never see each other again." Before leaving, David paused at the door, then turned back with a slightly amused look. "Oh, and by the way, Commander Kim, you probably didn't know, but George lost his memory after he nearly drowned. All your shared history, he's forgotten every bit of it. That's why he'll never come back." "That's a lie. You're lying. There's no way George would forget me." With a dull bang, the office door slammed shut abruptly, cutting off Sophia's words. She collapsed into her chair, an overwhelming panic rising in her chest. George lost his memory. That ridiculous idea. She refused to believe it. He had chased after her for 5 whole years, lowering himself to the dust. She had no doubt that if she asked for his life, he would have given it without hesitation. That George, even if he forgot the whole world, he would never forget her. Sophia clenched her jaw. What a clever little trick. Pretending to retreat just to gain the upper hand. She had been too lenient with George. She'd let him grow bolder and bolder, so much so that he now dared to turn his back on her. Fine. Once she found him again, she'd make sure he paid the price. But where exactly had George gone? Her mind was spinning wildly when suddenly the office phone rang. Could it be news about George? She snatched up the receiver, only to hear Makoto's tearful voice on the other end. "Sis, come quick. I've been taken to the police station." Sophia rushed into the police station just in time to see Makoto's tear-streaked face and the station chief's helpless expression. Makoto sobbed, "Sis, they're being so unfair. They're falsely accusing me of hiring thugs to bully George. They're slandering me. You have to stand up for me." Sophia frowned deeply and looked up at the station chief. "Chief Jean, there's no need for you to investigate this any further. I've already looked into it. Makoto is innocent. George has always been narrow-minded and jealous of my little brother. You can't just take his word as truth." Chief Jin's brows furrowed. "Who said it was Mr. Wong who filed the report? If not him, then who? He's so petty and selfish, always trying to stir up trouble." "It was me." A figure stepped forward and cut her off. It was Guard Wu. Sophia was taken aback. "Sam Wu, what are you doing here?" "I'm here to testify. Makoto hired local thugs to attack Mr. Wong, then spread rumors accusing him of misconduct. He laid out everything that had happened in full detail. As it turned out, after days of internal struggle, Wu could no longer live with the guilt. In the end, his conscience pushed him to go to the police. The station quickly investigated and confirmed the facts, and Makoto was brought in for questioning. Sophia lowered her head, her expression unreadable. "You liar!" Makoto exploded, lunging at Wu and slapping him across the face with a loud crack. "You ungrateful dog! How dare you bite the hand that feeds you!" "Enough!" Chief Jean slammed a hand on his desk. "This is a police station, not your backyard playground." He gave a signal, and several officers stepped forward to restrain Makoto. "Sis, they're hurting me. Tell them to let go." "I'm innocent," Makoto shouted. But this time there was only silence. Wu had served under her for years. Sophia knew he wasn't someone who lied. Her face turned cold. She ignored Makoto and gestured for Wu to continue. Clutching the fresh handprint on his cheek, Wu gritted his teeth and said, "I accept responsibility for my part in this. I'll be resigning, but I hope the true culprit is punished accordingly." Chief Jean added, "We've already apprehended the other suspects. Their statements match Mr. Wu's exactly. Commander Kim, you should understand, this is more than enough to charge Makoto." Makoto stared in disbelief. All he'd done was teach George a little lesson. How could this possibly be a crime? He turned and shouted desperately at Sophia. "Sis, help me. I can't go to jail. That thug didn't even succeed. Why are they arresting me?" Sophia's eyes pierced into him. "So you're admitting it was you?" Makoto stammered, then gritted his teeth, defiant. "Yeah, I did it. So what? I just wanted to scare that bastard so he'd never dare chase after you again." "Makoto." Sophia's voice was chilling now. "All these years I thought you were just childish, spoiled, sure, but still just a kid. But I never imagined you'd grow into a liar, a manipulative little monster. This time you will be taught a lesson." Makoto froze. His sister had always spoken to him with warmth and gentleness. This was the first time she'd yelled at him and said something so harsh. "Sis, you're being so mean." Makoto pouted, pretending he was about to cry. But Sophia didn't even look at him. "Chief Jean," she said coldly, "please handle this case impartially. Don't go easy on him just because he's my brother." "Sis, are you out of your mind?" Makoto's whimper cut off in an instant. He stared at her in disbelief. "I'm not going to jail. What will people think of me? My whole life will be ruined. And when you hired thugs to go after George, didn't it occur to you that you might be ruining his life?" Sophia's eyes gleamed with an icy chill. "A few days in jail will do you good. Give you a chance to calm down and reflect on what you did wrong." Makoto shook his head violently. "George is nothing. How can he compare to me? Sis, I know I'm the only one you care about. He's a piece of trash. He's not even worth your time. Stop messing around. Tell these damn cops to let me out, now." He was nearly foaming with rage that his sister, would let him go to jail over that worthless bastard George. He would make George pay for this once he got out. He swore it. "Makoto, George is my husband and your brother-in-law. That's a fact you need to accept. From now on, I won't allow you to keep treating him with such disrespect." With that, Sophia ignored Makoto's cursing and screaming. She gave a few final instructions to Chief Jean, then walked out of the police station without once looking back. Sophia sat in the jeep, a wave of guilt rising in her chest. She thought about how she had accused George of cheating without even hearing him out, about how she'd locked him, someone afraid of the dark, in the storage room for 2 whole days without food. George must have felt so wronged that he had no choice but to run away from home. She had admittedly been too harsh with him lately. Sophia made a silent vow. Once he came back home, she would no longer hold it against him that he hadn't given up his university spot or that he had left without telling anyone. If he behaved and acted obediently, she would keep her promise to marry him, fulfilling the biggest wish of his life. They would live happily ever after as a loving and devoted couple. The thought made Sophia's lips curl into a small smile, but when she returned to reality, her mood quickly fell again. Where was George exactly? She had already ordered her subordinates to search for him, but they'd come up empty. Before she realized it, she had driven back to the staff compound. Sophia pushed open the door to George's room and froze. The small room was spotlessly clean. He had clearly tidied up before leaving, but it felt empty, devoid of any trace of life. Only a stack of letters sat neatly on the desk where George used to study. Sophia's throat tightened, an inexplicable sense of dread washing over her. Felt like something important was slipping away from her. She slowly reached out and picked up the letters. They were love letters George had once written to her. Sophia's hand trembled slightly. She had never opened these before, but she knew George had treated them like treasure. He carried them with him everywhere. But now they were tossed aside like garbage. She opened one. Inside was George's familiar tidy handwriting. "I miss the soft smile between your brows like petals drifting in spring that never quite fall. I miss the vastness in your eyes hiding a world I could never reach. We've walked many roads side by side, and yet, I've never truly had you." Sophia, as if possessed, tore open one letter after another. They were full of George's love, but also his pain, his deep sadness and hopelessness. How could she have ignored all this? She sat there in a daze, stuck in George's room, obsessively reading the letters over and over. She thought about everything he'd done, everything he'd said. She forgot to eat, forgot to sleep, until the guard's voice jolted her back. Commander Kim, we found Mr. Wang's whereabouts. Sophia shot to her feet, a spark igniting in her eyes. Thousands of miles away in the northern city, I had just finished evening classes and was holding a letter in my hand, staring in shock at the girl in front of me. She, on the other hand, seemed perfectly at ease and said playfully, "Why so surprised? Has Mr. Wang never received a love letter before?" "It's not that," I stammered, feeling my cheeks grow hot. Even though I had written Sophia 99 love letters, she had never replied. Not even once. She hadn't even bothered to open them. This really was the first love letter I had ever received. I looked up instinctively at Willow. She was smiling gently at me like warm sunlight in the depths of winter, soft and comforting. I suddenly thought of that cold, emotionless face, the one that only ever softened into a rare smile when Makoto was around. Why was I thinking of her at a moment like this? Since she was already forgotten, it had to be a complete forgetfulness. It had been a week since the semester started. I was majoring in material science, busy yet fulfilled. Those unbearable past memories rarely crossed my mind anymore. Right in front of me stood Willow, the class monitor of my major, sunny and adorable, also captain of the debate team. Many boys in the department secretly liked her, but she of all people treated me with special kindness. Blushing, I returned to the dorm holding the letter. Amid my roommates' teasing, I carefully read the love letter word by word. Inside was an artistic little poem ending with an invitation to watch a movie together. I slightly lifted the corner of my mouth and silently agreed to the date in my heart. The next day, Willow was waiting promptly downstairs at the dorm. The moment she saw me, her eyes sparkled as if stars were twinkling inside. "Do you want to watch Old Stories of the Southern City? It's been out for a while now. Have you seen it?" I was a little stunned but quickly shook my head with a smile. "No, I haven't." I remembered before I left, Sophia had said she'd take me to see that movie, but in the end she abandoned me and Makoto to enjoy their own time together, even letting Makoto steal my clothes. "It's okay. The right person will come. This person will keep every promise made to me." We talked and laughed all the way to the cinema. Just as we were about to enter, a shout behind me made the hair on my neck stand on end. "George, did you run away from home just so you could flirt with wild women outside?" I suddenly turned around. That graceful figure was walking straight toward me. Her expression was stern, fists clenched tightly, radiating a deadly aura. It was Sophia. What was she doing here? Was she coming to confront me about the university spot I hadn't given up? I felt like someone was choking me. As she got closer, a strong sense of suffocation gradually overwhelmed me. I tried hard to calm myself down. After all, she was someone I had long forgotten, not worth getting upset over. "George, you actually ran all the way to the northern city alone. You're really hard to find. Have you made your point enough? If so, hurry up and come home with me." Still that commanding tone. I frowned slightly. "Sophia, do you still think I'm just throwing a tantrum?" Sophia's voice was low and heavy. "Then what else could it be? George, you don't act like a husband at all. I've said it many times. Makoto is just my little brother. You ran away from home out of jealousy. I have no interest whatsoever in your relationship with him. Please stop bothering me." Saying that, I turned toward the cinema entrance. Sophia's gaze turned icy as she grabbed my arm tightly. "I'm not finished talking. How dare you walk away? And look at how you're dressed, like some street thug. Change your clothes immediately." Suddenly, Sophia felt a sharp pain in her arm and instinctively let go of me. "Ma'am, please show some respect and don't lay hands on others." Willow pinched Sophia's arm, her beautiful brows slightly furrowed. Sophia scowled darkly and shot a sharp glance up and down at her. "Who's this blonde brat? So clueless about her place. If you dare covet what's mine, I haven't even gone after you yet, and you're already looking for trouble." I stepped forward, placing myself between them, staring defiantly at Sophia. "She's my friend. I won't let you insult her." Sophia was taken aback for a moment. That timid, cautious George she remembered. When did he become so tough? Then a strange sour feeling welled up in her heart. George was actually defending another woman. Anger overtook reason. Sophia swung her fists hard at Willow. Startled, I shouted. But Willow quickly dodged and used a grappling move to pin Sophia down. How do you know military combat? Willow didn't answer, only shook her head. Attacking ordinary people for no reason, you don't deserve to wear that uniform. Sophia was furious but helpless. She was usually the one dishing out lessons, never on the receiving end. Watching her get beaten like this, I couldn't help but laugh softly. Willow, let's go. The movie is about to start. George, Sophia shouted angrily. Don't forget who you are. You're my husband. How can you watch a movie with another woman? I felt Willow's body stiffen slightly. I turned around and sneered. Who says I'm your husband? I'm not even your ex-boyfriend. Sophia's voice was full of rage. What about our engagement? You're my husband as long as you're alive. And even if you die, you'll be buried in my family's ancestral grave. Then tell me who was the one that first proposed to cancel the engagement? Who was the one to blindly blame me for everything, scald me with hot water, and lock me up? Sophia's angry face fell, revealing a rare look of guilt. She thought about George's arms covered in blisters, about the terrified yet stubborn expression he had when locked in the storage room. Her tone softened. I admit I was a bit harsh on you before, but it was all for your own good. The thugs who bullied you have been caught and Makoto was detained for 7 days. He has been punished. Since it's already happened, let's just let it go and stop holding on to it. I laughed sarcastically. Makoto's bullying was only possible because Sophia had silently. She approved it. Now, with just a light sentence of let it go, she expected everything to go back to normal. Too bad, I'm no longer the George the First used to be. 7 days detention, that's really serious for someone who ordered a crime. But Commander Kim, whatever you think or do is none of my business. I just hope from now on you won't bother me anymore. We owe each other nothing. Willow's stiff back slowly relaxed. I continued, Commander Kim, no one will wait forever for you to come back. Remember old stories of the southern city. If you won't watch it with me, someone else will. Sophia looked up at the poster, her pupils trembling slightly. She thought of the movie George never got to see, the brand new coat already worn by Makoto, and was momentarily speechless. Willow, let's go. Willow released Sophia's arm and the two walked into the cinema without looking back. Sophia stood there silently clenching her fists. Sitting in the theater, my thoughts were still a bit scattered. I hadn't expected Sophia to abandon the military camp and come all the way to the northern city to find me. As the cold-faced commander in the camp, Sophia was used to everyone obeying her orders. Today, she hit a dead end with me. She probably wouldn't let me off easily. What would she do next? Keep bothering me? Cause a scene at school to ruin my reputation? Or something worse, like using her connections to get me expelled? Nervously, I fidgeted with the strap of my canvas bag. George, don't be afraid. A pair of fair hands covered mine, gently holding my slightly trembling fingers. I looked up and met Willow's burning gaze. You don't know, she's the commander. She has many ways to torment me. Willow, I'm afraid you'll get dragged into this. With me here, no one will hurt you. Trust me. Willow's gentle yet determined voice had a kind of magic, and I instantly calmed down. I smiled. I trust you. In the days that followed, Willow and I grew closer and closer. Though I wasn't ready to start a new relationship, I gradually developed feelings for this playful and adorable girl. We attended classes together, studied together, and occasionally went shopping or to the movies just like a typical campus couple. Willow was a local from the northern city. Several times she tried to hint that I should meet her parents, but I always refused with a smile. Having a second chance, I wanted to focus on studying hard and didn't want to think about those things too soon. Willow respected my wishes and gradually stopped bringing up meeting her parents. One day, Willow had to take leave from school due to family matters, so I went to class alone. Just as I stepped out of the dorm, a figure suddenly rushed at me and grabbed my hair fiercely. George, you shameless homewrecker, give my sister back. After the initial shock, I recognized the person. It was Makoto. His hair was disheveled, his face pale, and his narrow eyes filled with resentment. What kind of potion did you feed my sister? She personally sent me to jail and abandoned her work to come find you thousands of miles away. My sister's heart can only belong to me. You filthy bastard, go die. Makoto cursed and slapped me hard. 5 red fingers quickly bloomed across my face and pain surged. It was school time and the passing students were drawn by the commotion, gradually gathering around. Come look. This is the guy who stole my university spot and seduced my sister. Someone this shameless should be expelled. The onlookers started whispering and pointing at us. I didn't say a word. Grabbing Makoto's collar, I raised my arm and slapped him twice in return. Makoto was stunned. Why you dare hit back? Makoto, outside the camp, outside City, who do you think will still put up with you? I'm warning you. If you dare cause trouble at school, I'll make sure you regret it. Looking into my fierce gaze, Makoto actually felt a trace of fear. In the past, I always lowered my head and obeyed in front of those siblings. Even when Makoto threw tantrums, cursed at me, even choked or hit me, I endured it all. To put it nicely, I was a servant with no temper. To put it harshly, I was like a dog. But today, I actually fought back and even dared to threaten him. Makoto let out a howl. You not only impersonated me to get into university, seduced my sister, but also hit me. This is outrageous. The crowd grew larger, and some who knew me gathered, eyeing me critically. Makoto, if you accuse someone, you need proof. You say you got into university, so tell me, how do you pronounce the 26 English letters? Makoto was momentarily speechless. English was newly added to the college entrance exam this year. Makoto never studied and didn't recognize any of those strange letters. Some onlookers laughed out loud. Can you believe someone this dumb can't even recognize the English alphabet but still shamelessly claim they got into university? How embarrassing. You better find a hole to crawl into. Ignoring Makoto's face flushing red and pale in turns, I continued. Besides, since neither of you are married, why can't I date your sister? You keep saying I stole your sister, but is it because you have inappropriate feelings for her? As soon as I said this, the crowd erupted in shock. No matter the era, such behavior against human ethics is never accepted by society. The classmates looked at Makoto with disdain. Makoto's face flushed red and then pale. She's not my real sister. We don't, so you admit you have inappropriate feelings for her. I pressed on relentlessly. Whatever abnormal relationship you 2 siblings have is none of my business. But if you keep disturbing my life, I'll spread your dirty secrets all over the northern city. Unable to bear the scrutinizing gazes any longer, Makoto lowered his head, covered his face, and ran away. The crowd gradually dispersed and I breathed a sigh of relief. He was just a paper tiger, loud but weak inside. Why was I ever so afraid of him? After calming myself, I was about to go to class, but just as I reached the classroom door, 2 people in uniform stopped me. George, right? Someone reported you for suspected intentional injury. Please come with us to the police station to cooperate with the investigation. I clenched my fists. This Makoto really wouldn't let go. Walking into the police station, there was Makoto sitting with his legs crossed and a mocking expression. Officer, he hit me. Many classmates can testify. Arrest him and throw him in jail. Mr. Wong, is Mr. Makoto's accusation true? Chief Lee asked seriously. I took a deep breath. I didn't intentionally hurt him. It was self-defense. Makoto was the first to attack. He's lying. Don't listen to his lies. I didn't hit him. Chief Lee rubbed his temples, disturbed by Makoto's sharp voice. We can't arrest someone without evidence. Let's go to the school gate and find some witnesses. No. Makoto panicked. He was the one who first attacked me in front of so many people. If witnesses came forward, it would expose him. Chief Lee, don't you believe me anymore? Makoto's voice suddenly turned cold. When you were under my sister's command, she took good care of you, right? Now that you've been transferred to the northern city, you've turned your back on her. My heart tightened. They actually knew each other. Chief Lee hesitated. Commander Kim has always been grateful for my support, but as chief, I must enforce the law impartially. Makoto regained his confident smirk and lazily picked up the phone nearby, glancing at Chief Lee with a half-smile. "Should I call my sister and tell her you're bullying me?" Commander Kim was famously protective of her brother. Everyone in the camp knew it. Offending Makoto was even worse than offending Sophia herself. There would be no good outcome. Years ago, a soldier once casually called Makoto arrogant and unreasonable, which enraged Makoto. Sophia punished that soldier by making him run 20 laps under the blazing sun until he fainted on the field. Chief Lee gritted his teeth. "So you mean send him to jail? That's unlikely. Even if he did hit you, the most he would get is a few days detention, nowhere near jail time." Done, she would have no choice but to marry him. He wrapped his arms around Sophia's neck and started kissing her back. Sophia, receiving his response, went wild with excitement and intensified her assault. Their bodies tangled together, completely forgetting the world around them. "Sis," Makoto called out passionately. Sophia suddenly sobered up a little. George would never call her like that. Only one person called her sister. She struggled to open her eyes with her last bit of reason and finally saw the person in front of her clearly. In an instant, her passion ebbed away like a tide, leaving only anger and humiliation on her face. "Makoto, what are you doing?" Sophia pushed him away forcefully, stumbling back a few steps and collapsing onto the bed. Makoto staggered from the push and bumped his shoulder against the wall, wincing in pain. He looked at Sophia, full of grievance but unsure how to speak. Sophia felt an unusual heat on her body. Her soldier's instincts quickly kicked in. "You drugged me." Her sharp eyes stared fiercely at Makoto. "Sophia, I know you've always loved me, haven't you? Although I'm your brother in name, I've always regarded you as my lover. You must feel the same. Otherwise, why have you spoiled only me all these years? Why would you brave any danger for me? Sophia, stop suppressing your feelings. We're destined to be together." Hearing such blasphemy, Sophia's face flushed red with rage. "Makoto, you're despicable, to have wicked thoughts about your own sister. Do you have any shame before our late father?" He no longer hid it. He raised his hand to undo his shirt buttons and said in a low voice, "Sophia, stop pretending. I know you want me. Do you dare deny it?" Looking at Makoto's pale neck, the burning sensation returned once more. Watching Sophia's changing expression, Makoto smiled triumphantly and slowly stepped toward her. Just as his arm touched her chest, Sophia drew a dagger from her waist. What are you doing?" Makoto was startled and instinctively dodged. The next moment, the dagger pierced Sophia's own thigh. She bit her lip hard, swallowing back a scream. Sharp pain surged through her, and at the same time, the burning heat began to fade as clarity slowly reclaimed her mind. "I told you, my lover, my husband. This life will only have George. I cared for you only because I pitied you without a father. I never loved you." Sophia spoke each word deliberately. She once thought she had special feelings for Makoto. Otherwise, why would she always protect and spoil him? Whenever he suffered a little, she'd fly into a rage. Over the years, she blamed herself, feeling it was unnatural. Falling in love with her foster brother. George was just a cover she had found, a nominal fiancé to hide her secret. She thought she had never truly fallen for George. Only after George decisively left did the heart-wrenching pain make her understand she had only ever treated Makoto as a brother. In her heart, the only lover was George. Blood gushed from Sophia's thigh. Makoto was shocked beyond words. He never expected Sophia to stab herself to avoid touching him. Humiliation and anger surged through him. Why? How was he any less than George? "Sophia, you'll never be with George in this lifetime," Makoto shouted uncontrollably. "He's gone, forgotten you, and will never come back. Wake up." The light in Sophia's eyes gradually dimmed. He had forgotten her, forgotten all the beautiful memories. What could she do to win him back? Forgetfulness. Suddenly, Sophia lifted her head sharply as if clutching a last straw. Yes, there was still one way. Since the last time Makoto caused trouble at school, Willow had been following me everywhere. If I went to class or study sessions, she went with me. If I went out shopping or eating with my roommates, she followed from a distance. Our friends joked that we were like conjoined twins, never apart for even a second. But I understood that Willow felt guilty for not protecting me last time, so she kept close to ensure my safety. After Willow escorted me back to the dorm once again, I turned and gently held her hand. Willow, thank you for always protecting me, but I know you have many things to handle. You really don't have to follow me every day. Willow was the class monitor and also elected student council president. She had many responsibilities at school daily. Recently, she had turned down all these duties and even skipped some classes. George, right now the most important thing is to keep you safe. Everything else pales in comparison, Willow said firmly. A softness welled up in my heart. No one had ever cared for me like this before. But I persisted. Willow, we're still students. We should focus our time on studying and improving ourselves. I'll be careful. If you have things to do, you don't have to follow me all day. Okay? Willow scratched her head. Then I'll ask for a leave tomorrow. There's a debate competition I have to attend. I chuckled. Leave approved. Go get that championship, Lou. The next day I went to class alone. Remembering Willow's advice, I didn't stay to study afterward and headed back to the dorm before dark. But on the shady path back to the dorm, someone suddenly put a sack over my head. Before I could even scream, I was carried to a car and taken away. Sophia had been following George for many days but hadn't found the chance to make her move. That persistent Willow who always haunted him made Sophia furious, but she was helpless against her. Sophia was used to ruling with an iron fist, used to pressing people with her position. She wanted to use her connections to teach Willow a lesson, to show what happens to anyone who covets Sophia's man. She asked chiefly for help, but he flatly refused and revealed Willow's background. Sophia was stunned. She had always thought Willow was just a poor student and never imagined her family was so powerful. After the shock, she felt an unprecedented sense of defeat. She was just a low-ranking commander. To fight such a family was like smashing an egg against a rock. In the northern city, she couldn't even cause a ripple. After George left, she again experienced that helpless feeling of losing control over everything. Sophia gritted her teeth. No, she hadn't lost yet. As long as George remembered everything, the past, how much he once loved her, he would come back to her without hesitation. All that was missing now was the right opportunity. One day Sophia finally got that chance. She used a prepared handkerchief to drug the unsuspecting George, covered his head with a sack, put him into a car, and sped away from the school as fast as possible. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a shabby hospital room with Sophia staring at me intently. Panic surged as I tried to sit up, only to find my hands and feet bound to the bed. Sophia, where is this? What do you want to do to me? Let me go. George, don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. I just want to help. Sophia's voice was gentle. Just a small surgery, and you'll remember all the beautiful moments we shared. She reached out and softly stroked my cheek. My body trembled from fear. I tried to pull away but was tightly restrained. Sophia before me seemed like a wild beast bearing her fangs. After the surgery, we'll go home and get married. You'll always be my husband. I bit my lip hard, my voice trembling. David asked the doctor before. Selective amnesia can't be cured by surgery. Nonsense. Those were quack doctors. Sophia's voice grew angry. Recovering memory through surgery was her last lifeline, and she would never let anyone deny it. It had to bring George's memories back. It just had to. This hospital was recommended to me after much inquiry. They guaranteed with full confidence that they can cure your amnesia. I looked around. The old light bulb cast a dim yellow glow. The walls were peeling and stained. The sheets beneath me were covered in unidentifiable stains. This was clearly an unlicensed, shady hospital. If they performed brain surgery here, would I even survive? I trembled as I spoke. Sophia, this hospital looks very unprofessional. They must have deceived you. Please let me go. Sophia suddenly stood up. Her brow furrowed slightly as if unwilling to hear more. I said, there's no problem, so there's no problem. Don't say anything else. The surgery is about to start. Be good, you won't feel any pain. The door creaked open, the frame squeaking as if long neglected. A doctor in dirty surgical clothes entered. "Commander Kim, we can start the surgery now." Sophia Kim nodded. "No, I don't want surgery. Let me go." I screamed, struggling hard to break free. But it was all in vain. The doctor approached expressionlessly and injected me with a sedative. Before I lost consciousness, I heard Sophia whisper by my ear, "George, I'm waiting for you to come home." I had a chaotic dream. In the dream, I was tied up by Sophia and taken back to Sidia, to the home we once shared. I broke down crying and yelling, kicking Sophia, but she remained unmoved. She locked me inside the bedroom wardrobe without hesitation. She laughed wildly. "George, I told you you'll never escape my grasp. Not in this life, nor the next, nor the one after that. I'll keep you tied tightly to me." I curled up in the pitch-black closet, desperately pounding on the door and screaming in despair. Suddenly, a fierce wave of heat surged. Through the crack in the wardrobe, I saw flames blazing outside. There was a fire. The wardrobe instantly became like a steam chamber, the door scorching hot. If this continued, I would be burned alive inside. I used every ounce of strength to bang on the door, but the heavy wooden door didn't budge. Just as I felt I was about to suffocate, the door suddenly swung open. "George, I'm here to save you." It was Willow's voice. Dream and reality intertwined as I slowly opened my eyes. Before me was Willow's anxious face. "George, there's a fire here. I'm taking you out now," she shouted. I came to my senses and realized I was still in that shabby hospital room. I moved slightly. Numbness hadn't fully faded, but the bindings on my hands and feet were gone. Willow helped me up and quickly explained. "When I arrived, the fire had already started, and you were alone in the ward. The doctor must have discovered the fire before starting surgery and abandoned you." Her voice turned bitter with anger. "That Sophia is outrageous. She forcibly brought you to such a place for surgery. Doesn't she realize how dangerous it is?" Suddenly I cried out and lifted my arm just in time to block a falling beam. My arm was struck hard, and I groaned in pain. "George!" Willow screamed, trying to lower me to check my injury. "I'm fine, Willow. Let's get out of here." Willow gritted her teeth and quickened her pace. I knew Sophia was violent, domineering, and stubborn, but I never imagined she'd be this extreme, kidnapping me to a hospital and risking my life to force surgery on me. What did she even think I was? She never considered me an independent person, only her possession. Just an object at most, a cherished toy to be obtained by any means necessary. If I once held even a trace of sympathy or regret for Sophia, now all I felt was disgust. This person was never worthy of love. Willow carried me in her arms and dashed out of the fire. Once we reached a safe place, Willow quickly checked my injuries. Fortunately, nothing serious. But still worried, she decided to take me for a full medical examination. Just after we left, a frantic figure dashed into the burning building like an arrow released from a bow. "George, where are you? I'm here to save you." The scorching heat surged wave after wave, but Sophia paid no mind. She was already panicked and out of control. After George's surgery began, she left the hospital to buy his favorite roasted sweet potatoes. She thought that when he woke up, it would be a fresh start. He would remember everything, their past, their bond, and his passionate love for her. Then he would hold her close, and they would bury the hatchet, returning to love like before. Sophia imagined the beautiful life ahead and unconsciously curled her lips into a slight smile. But as she turned the corner, the blazing hospital suddenly came into view, completely unguarded. The hospital was on fire. George was still inside undergoing surgery. She threw down what she was holding and ran into the hospital like a whirlwind. She shouted George's name loudly but got no response. George's operating room was on the second floor, but the stairs were already completely blocked by flames. Sophia clenched her fists and charged up the stairs without hesitation. Even if it meant death, she was determined to save George. "Stop," a familiar voice called out. Sophia turned in surprise, but it was Makoto's face she saw. His expression was fierce, eyes full of resentment as he stared at Sophia. "You love him so much that you'd risk your life for him." Sophia stared blankly at Makoto, and suddenly everything became clear. This fire was set by you. Yes, I said it, Makoto sneered. George is already burned to death by me. You'll never be with him. You belong only to me. Ha ha ha. Sophia's eyes turned bloodshot as she lunged and grabbed Makoto's neck. What did you do to George? I'll kill you. Makoto's face turned bright red from being choked, but the smile on his face grew wider. Sophia, we will die together. Perfect. The flames gradually engulfed them both. Willow sat by my bedside, opening a thermal lunchbox and feeding me spoonful by spoonful of slow-cooked pork rib soup. Willow, I'm really fine. You don't need to worry so much. Though the doctor said after the checkup that there was no major issue, Willow insisted I stay hospitalized for a couple more days for observation. No way, Willow's tone was firm. Even though you weren't injured, you inhaled a lot of smoke. We still need to observe you for a few days to be sure. She felt deeply guilty about what happened and blamed herself for not protecting me well enough. I didn't say anything and obediently drank the soup. Suddenly, a reckless figure burst in. George, thank goodness you're okay. I just heard the doctor mention your name, so it really is you. I looked up in surprise, almost not recognizing the person. Sophia's head and arms were heavily bandaged, and the exposed skin was dark red and brown, clear signs of severe burns. I immediately guessed Sophia must have rushed into the fire trying to save me, but I felt no stir of emotion inside. Too little, too late. If Sophia hadn't kidnapped me, I wouldn't have fallen into such danger in the first place. Willow silently stood up and slapped her across the face. Sophia staggered and fell to the ground, coughing up a mouthful of blood. Willow tried to step forward again, but I quickly stopped her. With Sophia's current condition, Willow might actually kill her. Cough, cough, George, I know I've done many wrong things, but I've already been punished. And Makoto, he's severely injured and unconscious. He might never wake up again. I know the person you love has always been me. What is she to you? Sophia pointed stubbornly at Willow. Sophia, there's something. I've never told you, I said calmly. I actually regained all my memories a long time ago. I remembered everything from before. When I said this, Willow nervously held my hand while Sophia quickly stood up, her face lighting up with joy. Really, George? Then let's go home. I cut her off. It's because I regained all my memories that I'm even more certain. I truly don't love you anymore. Sophia's smile froze, her eyes full of confusion and disbelief. That can't be true. You once loved me so much, she murmured. Yes, I did love you so much. And how did you treat me? The love letters I wrote to you, you returned them unopened. The meals I brought, you either threw them away or gave them to Makoto. Because of Makoto's words, you wanted me to give up my university spot. Because of him, you scalded me with boiling water. When I was pushed into the water, bullied by the thugs Makoto brought. Where were you? Since regaining my memory, I have recalled the past more than once. But I was surprised to find that I could now view those painful memories with the detachment of an outsider. I saw clearly how madly I had obsessed over Sophia and how much she had despised me in return. Even I didn't understand why I was so stubbornly blind back then. Perhaps only by stepping outside could one truly see everything. Sophia was speechless for a long moment before softly speaking. George, for all those past mistakes, I am sorry. I apologize to you. For the sake of our many years together, please forgive me. I shook my head. I once hated you, resented you, but now I don't. A hopeful light kindled in Sophia's eyes, only to be instantly extinguished by my next words. Sophia, I just don't love you anymore. This is not an angry remark or confusion from lost memories. It is my heartfelt decision. Sophia was struck as if by lightning, collapsing onto the floor, the sparkle in her eyes gone. What she had always relied on was the affection and memories of the past. Though George had temporarily left her, deep down she felt confident. She firmly believed that as long as George regained his memory, they could return to how things were before. After all, he had once loved her more than life itself. Who could simply let go of such love? But now George firmly told her he had let go. Let go with such determination and finality that there was no room left. After a long pause, Sophia spoke. George, I'm sorry. I won't bother you anymore. She bit her lip, propped herself up with her burnt hand, and stumbled out of the hospital room. In the empty corridor, Sophia finally couldn't hold back her tears and sobbed uncontrollably. Everything was her fault. She had personally buried her relationship with George. The way things had come to be was entirely her own doing. She had completely and forever lost George. Sophia kept her promise and didn't appear before me for the next 3 years. As Willow and I approached graduation, we received a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Both of us, as outstanding students, were awarded full scholarships to study abroad in the United States. It was a time of great change. Knowledge-hungry youths eager to learn advanced experiences in developed countries was a shared dream. Willow and I accepted the opportunity without hesitation. Together, we arrived in the U.S., continuing our studies in a picturesque coastal city. I deeply understood the value of knowledge and how education could change one's fate. Like a sponge, I absorbed all the knowledge I could reach. After classes every day, I would carry my backpack to the library and study late into the night. By my side, Willow was always there silently guarding me. Every time I looked up from my books, I would see Willow quietly reading beside me. A calm and beautiful sight. The years were peaceful, the present stable. It was all I could ask for. After 2 years of study, Willow and I, with excellent academic results, both applied for doctoral programs at the same university. In our second year of the PhD, we held a simple yet warm wedding at City Hall. I slipped the ring onto Willow's ring finger, my voice trembling with emotion. Willow, marrying you is the luckiest thing in my life. I will spend my life loving, tolerating, and protecting you. In front of our teachers and classmates, we embraced happily. Soon after, I received a wedding invitation from David. After years of hard work, David had established several trading companies exporting products abroad and had become the king of foreign trade in City C. When he first arrived in City C, private trade was not fully liberalized, so he pushed his goods on a tricycle to various city corners, setting up street stalls. He endured wind and sun, often dodging management officials. During this time, he met his current partner. After market liberalization, they started from scratch and gradually built their business empire. Holding the invitation that had traveled across the ocean, I pictured the determined, never-give-up young man. It was David who cared for me tirelessly during my 2 hospital stays and who risked stealing the key from Sophia so I could escape to freedom. No matter where I was, I knew I had to attend this wedding. Landing in City C, stepping once again onto this familiar land, I felt somewhat disoriented. To save money, I hadn't returned home for 4 years. Everything seemed a bit unfamiliar. David, busy as the groom, sent a car to pick up Willow and me. The cityscape flew by rapidly. Watching the ever-changing city, I was full of emotion. The car stopped at David's residence, a grand 3-story house. Hearing the car, David, halfway through his makeup, rushed out of the yard shouting, "George, I've missed you so much." I laughed and hugged him tightly. "You silly giant, still so reckless." David glanced over my shoulder at Willow, his tone suddenly tinged with jealousy. "No wonder you haven't come back to see me all these years. Some beauty has taken you away." I laughed and playfully hit him, and the two of us tussled playfully. Suddenly, from the corner of my eye, I noticed a figure under the shade of a tree, someone vaguely familiar. Curiously, I looked up. The person was looking back at me, eyes full of longing yet sadness. George. After parting ways at the hospital, Sophia knew she no longer had the face to see George again. But whenever she thought of the past, her heart felt like it was being pricked with needles. She lived each day in a daze, her days and nights reversed. She dreamed that George was still by her side and would wake up smiling, only to find the space beside her empty. When the pain became unbearable, she would go near the school just to catch a distant glimpse of George. But every time she saw him with Willow, her heart felt as if it were being crushed by a giant hand, suffocating. The person who should have been by his side was supposed to be her. Later, the military couldn't tolerate her neglect of duty any longer and issued an order. If she didn't return to the camp, she would be dismissed. Helpless, she obediently went back and stayed in the unit for a while. But her heart was completely elsewhere. She wandered through each day like a zombie, no longer the confident and spirited woman she once was. She made many mistakes at work. Because of her past arrogance, many had long disliked her and seized this opportunity to report her to superiors. She was given a serious reprimand and demoted repeatedly, now just an ordinary soldier. After dreaming of George once more, she boarded a train to the northern city. She didn't hope to say anything to him, not even to see him from afar, just one glance would be enough. But she heard news that broke her spirit. George had gone abroad. Her military status blocked any chance of visiting him overseas. Would she never see him again in this lifetime? She felt as if struck by lightning, not knowing how she left the school or fell into a river. She only knew she woke up in a hospital room, rescued by a kind passerby. Although she could swim, she didn't try to save herself after falling into the water. Maybe she wanted to feel the suffocation and despair George once felt. Later, she did many bizarre things. She scalded her own arm with boiling water. She walked through the snow in thin clothes. She locked herself in a dark, windowless storage room for 3 days and nights. Everyone thought she had gone mad. Only she knew that, by punishing herself this way, she could feel a little better. Deep inside, she secretly hoped that since she had realized her mistakes and paid for them, George might come back to her. She lived like a ghost for 2 years until a few days ago, when she overheard a comrade invited to David's wedding. Her whole body shuddered. George and David were best friends. He would definitely come to the wedding. She was right. The moment she saw George again, a rush of blood surged through her body, and she felt like she was about to faint from excitement. But when she saw the other woman holding his hand, her heart froze inch by inch. Sophia didn't know what to say and mechanically spoke. "George, how have you been these past few years?" "Makoto, he's dead. Complications from severe burns and widespread infection." I shook my head. "I don't want to know anything about you and your brother." Seeing an old acquaintance stirred no emotion in me anymore. I was now a bird soaring in the sky, no longer lingering in sorrow over the past. Sophia licked her dry lips and was about to say more, but a flash of light stabbed her eyes. She saw the wedding ring on my ring finger. "George, you're married?" she asked in shock. I nodded gently, looking down at the diamond ring on my hand. As if recalling some happy memory, a faint smile appeared on my lips. Sophia stared blankly at that smile. It was the smile she once wanted to protect for a lifetime, the smile she lost in her youthful recklessness. But as long as he was happy, wasn't that enough? "George, congratulations on your wedding. I wish you a lifetime of happiness." Leaving those words behind, Sophia clenched her teeth, turned around, and stumbled away. After David's wedding, Willow and I returned to the U.S. to finish our studies. 3 years later, we both earned our doctorates. In the end, we chose a university in the northern city to continue our research projects. Life was happy and warm. From now on, a lifetime for just the two of us. No old dreams would linger in my heart again.